Hello, good afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. Welcome to, I think, our 300 plus or almost 300 folks that have registered for today's event. My name is Ashley McCurry. I'm on the Defendify marketing team, and I get to work as our community manager. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Glenn Capin from the customer success side. How you doing, Glenn?
I'm doing well. Really excited for this. Really excited to dive into all kinds of interesting stuff with Matthew today.
And Glenn always has to clear his calendar to come with us, and this is not part of his daily job. He volunteers to be here, so thank you.
I know, and I have to get a haircut, all the things. I
Oh
got
my, that's a lot of work.
Yeah,
The commitment.
the commitment.
And we're here today with a guest who's already peaking up, which I'm so excited about. Matthew Rosenquist was someone that I discovered when I was finding, I think it's Cybersecurity Insights. It's the annual prediction that you do, I think in January. So he's been someone I've been following for a long time. And has a really good and a big LinkedIn presence because he was one of the first folks who stepped into the LinkedIn blogging and LinkedIn learning and stepped up to talk about cybersecurity from a mentorship perspective. Old videos of him 5-10 years ago he's teaching about how it's going to be his generation that's going to step up and make sure that cybersecurity isn't siloed off and separate and into the IT space, but really brought out into everyone's awareness so that our cybersecurity resilience on behalf of every company that we work for and personally rises because hackers are still trying to get smarter and stronger and faster. And so we all have to play a part in that, not just our IT professionals. So we wanted to bring him here today. He's got 35 years of experience. He's fresh off of the RSA Conference. I'd like to welcome him. Matthew Rosenquist, thank you for joining us today.
It is absolutely my pleasure. Look forward to having some wonderful chats today.
You are fresh out of RSA. You might even still be on site. Are you home? Like, where are you joining us?
No, I'm now home. I'm in my home studio, so life is good.
Oh, wonderful. So how was RSA? How many days were you there? What was it like? What came out of it?
Just a short period. Unfortunately, I had a lot of conflicts there, but it's funny because it's such a big conference, about 41,000 people this year, a little over 600 speakers typically. The community talks a lot beforehand. We share a lot beforehand on what we're going to talk about and who's going to be talking who. I had so many phone calls and so many meetings beforehand that we covered a tremendous amount. It's kind of like the pregame, the preseason, if you will. And then there's going to be a whole slew of discussions afterwards that RSA tends to fuel among the community because new technologies are explored and different ideas and processes and we're even talking threats and disruptive tech, and so it has a pretty big gravity well on the industry.
And it's so important to build community. And that's why we did this webinar, I think 6 months ago is when we started doing regular webinars, because we were trying to bring community within cybersecurity. You've been doing it for years and years. What are some of the things you've seen that businesses have sort of reached out and struggled with the most in your 35 years? Because you've seen it change, but what are some of the things you've seen that sort of has stayed the same when it comes to businesses and cybersecurity?
The list is long, right? It has been an evolution of perceptions and technologies and risks, and even ownership. And as you said, the community has changed. What we're seeing right now is we're seeing a serious elevation in regards to the recognition of cybersecurity, the need for it, and the expectations. The expectations have been rising. And think about that. It's not just the expectations of the management, the executives, but now also the board. The board is being brought in. And it's not just the board. It's also our business partners. If you want to go out and work with another company, they're going to send you a great little security questionnaire, anywhere from 50 to 4,000 questions, so they understand you, right? So it's your business partners and your suppliers, but it's also your customers. And we can't forget about the auditors and, the regulators too. So this elevation of expectation has become a catalyst of change. It has forced the community to collaborate more. It has driven and fueled innovation. It has tied us closer to the disruptive technologies that companies and organizations are moving to embrace because of the business advantages. It has also made the digital technology, the world that we protect, more valuable, making it more of an interest from the intelligent attackers. And again, that's the tension that goes back and forth, where we have to constantly adapt. So, it's easier to probably ask what hasn't changed than what has, because everything fundamentally has.
You had said in another webinar that I saw that you were involved in tech and cybersecurity when it was considered a dead-end job. And I thought that was really interesting. Tell me more about that evolution of your career. Because now it seems to me that you take expanding knowledge to folks that just in the world, you put out information for free. So taking the knowledge of cybersecurity and expanding it for free seems very valuable and very important to you. And it is, I agree. But to start from a place that was a dead end job, you probably didn't imagine that this would be where you would end up.
No, it really wasn't. And I've been in the industry and security and protecting assets and people and things for over 35 years, almost 36 years. When I started, I actually started with a team that was looking at theft, fraud, embezzlement, counterfeiting, things of that sort. And what I found interesting in that is the fact that you're dealing with an intelligent or semi-intelligent, depending on who you're dealing with, adversary. And when I started and expanded out into digital technology, the same types of threats were out there. You still had the insider, you still had the criminal, the thief, but we started to expand out to different types of threats, which made it interesting. But back in the day when I started, it wasn't called cybersecurity. That wasn't a term. In fact, it wasn't even called information security. It was way down in the organization called system security. And typically it was a function of administrators for mainframe or for Unix systems out there. But when I started, it was right around the time that the first networking stacks were included in operating systems. So you're talking Windows 3.1.1. Right. That was the first time Microsoft actually included networking drivers in its operating system. And that's where it started to blossom. But back then it was a dead end field. It was, you couldn't count the layers between a security person and the CEO, right? It was buried so deep, within an organization. But and there was no way to really elevate. There was no career path. That has changed significantly, right? We see a lot of CISOs actually reporting into the CEO, FaceTime with the board and whatnot, and become a key player in the organization. So the environment has changed. What I saw was a dead end job in the beginning. It was a good career decision, but I made it simply because I love the work. I love the challenge. So I was going to stick with it, even if it was a dead end, because it made me happy. I enjoyed the thrill of it. So, it turns out a little bit different, which is good.
Like fighting the bad guys.
Oh, very much.
Or at least you seem to. Maybe on the other end, you're the bad guy.
You have to. There's and when we say bad, sometimes it's just an untrained person. Right? Somebody that's untrained. You hire somebody in and go, oh, you'll get your security training in a month. And they go in and they start accidentally clicking on things. And now you've got malware and ransomware is running rampant and servers are going down and your cloud is unavailable, right? And you're getting these calls from everybody, including the CEO. The threats, when we talk about them, are quite flavorful, internal and external wise.
Yeah, it's a great point. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to an organization and they have a new hire and that first week they get an email from the CEO saying, "Hey, I'm on a meeting. Can you buy me gift cards?" And unknowingly, because they haven't had the
Sure,
training,
boss.
right? Yeah, I want to impress the boss. So, so you're right. Threats
Yeah.
come from all different places for sure. So,
Yeah. And think about it. You're a new hire and you get an email from IT saying,
Yeah.
hey, we have to reset your password or
Yeah.
give us your password. We're setting up these other apps for you. You're new. You don't know any better unless somebody has told you that's not going to happen, right? We have a process. You're probably going to fall for it. So,
yeah,
and it's really easy to then blame that poor person, but really who's to blame? The process has failed them, right? And who's in charge of the process? Well, probably, or it should be cybersecurity. So, yeah,
yeah,
we have to look at
absolutely,
things in a brutal and realistic way to make sure that we get the right business results at the end of the day.
exactly.
Brooke says in the chat, and for folks who are new here, I apologize, I didn't acknowledge the chat. We have a chat that we hope folks utilize, and it seems like many of you have found it. Our community, this is a community building event. Use the chat on the side, say hello. I see someone from Maine. I'm from Maine, so it's a mwah, hello from Maine back. But Brooke in the chat, that person from Maine said, every new hire lately for us has had the gift cards for the CEOs. It's a really common phishing scheme, but very tailored, right? It'll say your name and it'll say Ashley from Ophthalmologist. That I got it too. How are hackers making these phishing attempts and these emails? How are they making them so personalized? Is there an AI component? And if so, can you sort of explain to me how hackers are actually able to use AI and make it so that every new hire ends up getting the same type of email, but so personalized? I mean, that feels pretty efficient, actually.
It is, right. It's taking advantage of social engineering attacks. It's targeting, we call them wetware. It's targeting people, humans. And when you're targeting humans, you're targeting their behaviors and their cognitive structures. So if they believe it's from an authority, right, you're going to leverage that and you're going to get them and manipulate them to act in ways that you want that are probably in detriment to others. So, and this has been happening since mankind has been able to speak. So it's not something new, right, to the world or to digital. It's always happened. These are the fraudsters and so forth. It's just a new medium. When you do use social engineering, typically you have to establish some type of rapport, and that could be authority, that could be something else, right? I like you, a love scam, whatever it is, but you have to build a rapport, and then you have to leverage something, right? Whether, again, it's a urgency or appeal to authority or whatever it is. But in doing that, we are often using tools, whether it's emails or whether it's texting on our phones or whether it's a Slack channel, that it's not person to person. So it's really tough for us to validate the identity, and they're going to take advantage of that. Now, if you can add in a rich story behind it, which would be customized to that person, it makes it even more compelling. And, this tactic does not escape the attackers, right? There is tried and true methods around this. So when prior to AI, people, just creative people, would be able to create that narrative and build that rapport out of nothing. Talk to salespeople who can do cold calling. This is a skill. It's a marketable skill. But the attackers would use that again. And, they realize, hey, we need an edge. And as the cognitive knowledge goes up, they have to then adapt to it. So with AI coming into the scene, that allows you to do all sorts of things. That allows you to try a particular tactic. And if it doesn't work, the AI can learn from it and try a different tactic. AIs can then be connected to social media and other open source intelligent OSINT tools to start gathering information. So I may look at or have my AI, and if I don't have AI, it may just me. I may look at Glenn's LinkedIn account and see where he works or where he previously worked. So in my message to him, Glenn, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but we both used to work at Acme Rocket together. And now I've built a rapport, right? He can't validate who I am, but I've built the rapport and I can go from there. So AI tools allow a couple of different things. It allows you to do A/B testing and learn very, very quickly so you can adapt. It allows you to automate these messages at scale. Previously, it was just kind of like a mail merge, mail list. I can replace a name and that's about it. AI can do much, much more. And then third, it can now customize. It can do research and pull that in and combine all of that and then do it at light speed. Typically, you would have to have a group of people, a warehouse full of people in some countries, doing these manually, right? With 20 different screens open, trying to hold 20 conversations. Now you can have an AI do 10,000 conversations simultaneously.
You know, we say it like it's so creepy to look up that information, but I was a fundraiser for 12 years before I came into the cybersecurity space and the marketing space. And everything that you're saying hackers did, we did. And like,
of course,
we were in the back end trying to figure out your political donations. Like, and we didn't have AI to do it at that time. Although, you know, in retrospect, I wish we did. I could have made it. But it sounds creepy when you say it, that the hackers are doing it and LinkedIn is bad. And I saw somebody in the chat, as soon as you put your information on LinkedIn, but it is the cost of putting your information on LinkedIn, right? I also need my LinkedIn information out there so I can connect with people like Matthew Rosenquist. So you kind of get stuck in a balance of how much information do you share and how much do you not. So do you have it? That's just personally. Do you have advice for businesses, maybe with smaller budgets that can't fund an entire cybersecurity team of 10 people running a SOC in-house? Like, what are the tools that they need, or what are the first things a business needs to do to make sure that they're somewhat protected in the balance? How do they make those decisions?
And this is a tough one. And let me be brutally honest here. I mean, cybersecurity can be expensive, right? When you look at those big enterprise tools, and it's out of the reach of many of the small and medium businesses. We have, as an industry, my beloved industry, has really ignored and done a disservice to the small and medium businesses out there. We've focused on, unfortunately, the big companies, the Fortune 100, the Fortune 1000s, because that's where the money is. And yet, the small and medium businesses are getting attacked as much, if not more. So there is a gap here. And we're seeing a lot of very innovative companies reach out and develop what's needed for the small and medium businesses. Now, it's not perfect, but we're seeing that push to be able to service those. And it's a combination of people and processes and technology that really is what it takes. It always starts with leadership. You have to, in order to get somewhere, you have to have somebody go, okay, I know the direction. I kind of got a plan. Let's pack accordingly and let's get it done. If you don't have the leadership, you can move fast, but you may not ever get to where you want to go. So it does take a certain level of savvy to be able to kind of plan that out. So you're not wasting your time. You're not wasting your effort. You're not increasing the unnecessary amount of friction to the environment. So these small and medium businesses, typically, and I talk with them often, they're like, I don't even know where to start. And I said, that's a brutally honest assessment. You're right. So you either need to find somebody, bring in a consultant or something like that for a small amount of time to help give you a brief roadmap, to help guide you, because your journey is going to be different than the company next to you, than your competitors even, or somebody in a different sector, right, or geography. So at least have an understanding, right, of where you need to go. And they can guide you to help you define your goals. Because a startup or a small business and a medium business, their goals will change, and they're fundamentally different than the big companies, right, that are going to invest millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or even $1 billion in cybersecurity. So figure that out, right? Typically, you want to do the basics, but it has to be tied back to your business objectives. the very minimum, we recommend the basics. There's all sorts of different programs and information out there to kind of cover what those are. But start with a plan. If you don't have that, you're going to be just shooting in the dark.
Yeah.
So then is it set it and forget it at that point? Sorry, Glenn.
No, security is never a set it and forget it. It's never a fixable issue, right? Unlike IT, which is plagued with problems, right? And you're going to go in and you're going to find the solution. You may look it up on Google, you find the solution, you go fix it, and it's done, and you move on to the next problem. Cybersecurity is a certain level of care. And because we have constantly changing environments, technology, the landscape we fight on, but more importantly, it's because we have those intelligent adversaries. And so if you go and fix something, right, the adversary is probably not going to be discouraged. They're going to find a way around it or under it or through it. And adversaries can be smarter than you. They may have more resources than you. They may even know your environment better than you do. So they have advantages. And we have to understand security is an evolution, and it has to be tied with the business objectives. And those business objectives also lead to what new technologies we're going to implement and the size of our organization and where we're going to operate and what kind of data we're going to handle and what kind of third-party vendors we're going to use. And all of those, as they change and evolve, cybersecurity has to be in lockstep to change and evolve with those. So it is a investment, just like anything else, just like your sales department or your marketing or your IT. It is an investment that needs to be embedded. It's important, and it will continue. It has to continue to evolve. A stagnant security system or program begins to deteriorate the moment it becomes stagnant.
Yeah. And I love that you said start with the basics. I think it can be overwhelming. You look at all the solutions out there, and there's tons of vendors in the space. Like, where do you begin? And working with a lot of customers here at Defendify, they come in starting with the basics that we provide, whether that's a self-assessment. You don't know what you don't know. So go through, answer those questions, and, identify where there might be gaps, and then, create small milestones. Like what are the low-hanging fruit here? Where can we improve right away? What's something we can do in 6 months? Where do we want to be in a year? And constantly be working towards that evolution. Like you said, especially if it's like a startup or a small business, where you are today might be different than where you are in a year or 2 years, and your needs might be different. You might be getting questionnaires from vendors or, cyber insurance questionnaires, and it's all, it's coming from all these different angles. But, working with our customers, it's not uncommon for them to come in with those basics. And then as they mature, adding more and more tools that we provide here to help get them to where they need to be. So I think you have to do something, so yeah, start with the basics, start somewhere. Find someone or an organization that's going to help steer the course for you. And then, as time goes on, it's a constant evolution. The threat landscape's always changing, your business is always changing, and you just got to, stay on top of it as much as you can.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, right? If your perception of security is binary, you either have it or you don't. You either have to go full tilt, right, and succeed, or you have zero and you fail. You're never going to find or feel good about your security program. It's never really going to be valued.
Like a therapist.
Yeah, it's a matter of finding that optimal balance, and you're balancing the investment, the cost. You're also having to figure out, okay, it's going to introduce a certain amount of friction to your environment. You have to be willing to accept that. And at the end of the day, there will be some level of residual risk. You cannot eliminate all risk. I have companies, medium-sized companies even, because I talk with boards and so forth, and they'll say, hey, just, tell us what product we need to buy, just the one product, and we'll install it, and we're done with security. And it doesn't work. And I'll ask them, well, what's your goal? Well, and they'll say, well, we want 0 incidents. I said, oh, 0 incidents. Okay, no problem. We'll get there. It's going to take 10 times your annual revenue. And I'll get you 0. And they're like, yeah, we can't afford that. Oh, okay. Well, you can spend 0 and you can be victimized every week. We're like, we don't like that either. I said, okay, great. So We know there's somewhere in between there, right? Where there is a certain amount of risk you're willing to take, just like you take business risk, financial risk, competitive risk. You deal with risk, right? So there's a certain level you're willing to accept based on how much you're willing to spend and the friction it introduces. And once they get that in their head, like, well, yeah, I'm willing to accept some risk. Okay, great. Now we can talk about that. And so when we talk about those basics, you're probably not going to be able to go from 0 to exactly your sweet spot, right? But start somewhere. Build those milestones, just as you talked about. Figure out what should be prioritized, where are we going to see value, and start on that journey, because it is a journey. And there's no ending, by the way. That optimal zone will change and shift over time. As you grow, as you get more customers, as you expand out, as you change your computing environment, right? As you hire more people, that zone will change, and security has to keep in lockstep with it.
You're hired often as a fractional CISO, right? And you have where you help a company once after they have the first initial setup and they now need like someone in the CISO role. Is there a way at that level that you notice kind of consistently? Like, how do people know when they need more than the basics? How do they know when to scale up their cybersecurity? The easy answer would be an incident, and I'm hoping.
Yeah, that's a fundraiser right there. You have an incident, all of a sudden you're going to get more security budget. But that's
before they have the incident. Is there a time where IT leaders that maybe aren't cybersecurity experts can understand? Okay, we have this. Now we need sort of a step up. What are they seeing?
Yeah. And again, every industry and every company is a little bit different. Some companies are a little more security aware, right? They're a little bit more concerned. They're a little bit more informed. Other ones are blind to it. And, I'll have board members that'll invite me in.
Do you mean when they blind to it, they don't have any like cybersecurity awareness? They don't have an
literally
training program.
I had one not too long ago. The board members, 2 board members, mandated that I come in and talk with the CEO. And I came in and talked cyber because they did not have a cybersecurity program. They didn't have anybody dedicated, and it was a startup, right? And I talked cyber, and the CEO looked at me and said, "No, I'm not worried about cybersecurity. I'm not going to invest in it. It's not worth my time." I said, "Okay, right? Do you understand the risk?" He says, "Yeah, I understand the risk, but I'm going to accept it." Okay. I mean, it's if he truly understands the risk, and we did have some conversations, then he's making a management decision to accept those, just like a CEO has to accept other risks. The board members were not happy with that, but I did also let the board members know, hey, he's in the position of a CEO. He has the ability to accept that risk unless you replace him. And he may have other business priorities, but it's a little concerning if somebody comes to that informed decision. In most cases, when somebody comes to that decision of, I don't need security, it's not that they were informed. It's that they were uninformed. They didn't understand the risks, or they believed it would be just too expensive. We don't want to worry about it. Or they think we weren't attacked yesterday, so I'm going to cross my fingers and rub my little rabbit's foot and hope. Hope is my strategy. I'm going to hope I don't get impacted tomorrow. Those are a little less informed and less educated. And so a CISO or any security advocate can help communicate, enlighten, and educate. That doesn't always mean everybody goes, we love security, let's give 40% of our budget to it. Right there again, there's business decisions and competition for those resources, and we have to understand that. And security professionals, you have to understand you will never get everything on your Christmas list. I'm sorry, Santa's wonderful, but he's not going to give you everything you ask for.
And he only comes to kids.
Right.
That's because us adults aren't innocent anymore. But yes, a different discussion.
Yeah. No, if I got $1 every time an IT director told me, yeah, I tried, but I can't get the budget this year. It's that balance. And I think you hit it right there where it's about educating, whoever's writing the check, the CEO, at least at the end of the day, helping them to understand what the risks are of not doing something. But like you said, there's a lot of moving pieces, and sometimes the money needs to be allocated elsewhere, and it's not always in security, unfortunately, as much as we'd like to have that full wish list satisfied.
And I'll put a lot of the responsibility on the CISOs ourselves. We have to be able to communicate that risk in a way that the audience understands, right? If you're talking to a fellow CISO, oh, we can gab using all sorts of terms that a normal person, English-speaking person, would not know what we're talking about.
Right.
When we talk to an executive, it's a little bit different. We have to shift that based on really even what that executive's in charge of. The conversations that I have with product groups are talking about how security could potentially benefit their average selling price, their good, better, best marketing strategy, how it can show a differentiation with competitors, a competitive advantage. When I'm talking with HR, I'm talking about how cybersecurity can maintain the confidentiality of their records, right? When I'm talking to finance, it's all about integrity, right? They don't want somebody to go in there and start moving decimal places and paychecks or accounts receivable or payable, right? And so it's about integrity of that data. So every audience is a little different, and especially when we get to the board, they don't talk alerts or cyber risk. That language is not part of the vocabulary. The CISO has to translate it into business risk. And if we fail to do that, you're relying on luck that there's someone there that knows or is worried about security that's willing to throw, some influence your way. It really comes down to the security team. We have to be that translator, and it's tough. This is going to be the big challenge in the next couple of years with CISOs, because most CISOs are not prepared for this.
Yeah, that's such great advice too. I work with a lot of organizations that don't have a CISO, and it's an IT director that's trying to present these things to various departments within the organization. I think you really hit some really great points on speaking to your audience, because a CEO is going to view this as a cost to the company rather
overhead.
than a return.
It's an overhead group. Yes,
it's not a return on investment, but if you can position it as a benefit to the company, it's going to be a return on investment. We're going to be able to work with bigger companies and, be able to do, have these advantages. I think the conversation can be a little bit different, but it's just a matter of kind of figuring that out.
Yeah. You say a little different, it is night and day. It truly is. Because if cybersecurity, and this is where we kind of grew up, right? Most cybersecurity grew up from a technology world, typically in IT or in some engineering group. And it was really an overhead. It was taking away time from doing real work, right? Or work that would generate dollars for the company. And so if we're still pigeonholed in that box that says we're overhead, right? We're just an overhead. We're a cost center. Every MBA graduate will tell you, if there is a cost center group, what your job is to make it more efficient so you can reduce the spending, right? Well, if you see cybersecurity as that, you're thinking, okay, I've got to invest money so I can reduce the spending. But on average, we're asking for a 25% increase in budget every year. Now, we don't get it. We typically get between 9 and 12%. But that's only going to last so long, right? When management is looking and you've got competing groups, you've got the sales group or the product group going, no, give us that money. We'll increase sales 20%. Why are you wasting money on security? So, there will be a ceiling at some point in how much companies are willing to invest in security. If your only narrative is, we're protecting against something that may or may not happen, and we can't really measure it. Okay, that's a lot of ambiguity.
After this webinar, let's do a similar clip, but you say we're asking for 25% and we're getting it. will cut it and send it to all the IT leaders so that they can use it for their boards. In that
I see. We're gonna use AI to dub over. Oh, I see how it is.
If you're
That
here
sounds
today,
much like
I
an
will get you
attack,
that.
Ashley. That sounds going back to your sales days. Is this what you're reverting to?
Well, so funny that you said that. So Glenn, you had said I've never worked for any other place with like a CISO, and I'm not trashing on nonprofits or political campaigns, but that was where I fundraised, and we never even had an IT person. We had, and I'm sure that this has changed. So please don't go attacking political campaigns or nonprofits based on this information. But if you're a hacker and you're here. But we would usually, and we're all like in our 20s on campaigns, and we would usually have whoever was the operations, usually dude, not always, but usually a dude, the one that was most techie, based on who knows what. And we'd be like, can you figure out password management? Can you just figure that out? It wasn't a person with any cybersecurity knowledge. So while I've been here at Defendify, regularly trained, seeking thought leaders, seeking information, I cannot tell you how many things I go, and I would love to write about it and I would love to post about it, but I think there needs to be even more than 2 years. I think there needs to be 7 years or 10 years before I start to tell you how little the protection is and was. And so I was a single staffed nonprofit executive director. You know, like there was no IT person. If you were in the Google Drive, I had to know it or I didn't know it. Like, good luck. And I'm sure that has all changed. But the reality is most of our team, most of the folks who find Defendify as a product are looking maybe for a free assessment tool, or they're looking for some of our 13 layers of protection and they're trying to figure out what they need. And they may not even know what they need. So they don't, some of our IT leaders aren't sure. Like they might know that they need MDR or XDR services and that's how they find us. Or they might know they need an assessment and that's how they find us. Or they're hoping to consolidate their cybersecurity tools. And then because they talk to someone like Glenn is like, hey, you're actually not protected here. We can do this for you really easily. And so that's how it goes here in the Defendify place. But in the real world, like people don't always know what they need. And they might not know what to search. They might not find you, Matthew, right? Unless they're searching what you're talking about. So like, what should we be doing? Should there be like a public education campaign? Do we just keep doing webinars like this? Do we yell? Do we scream? Do we cry? Do we protest? Like, what do we do to tell more non-IT people that they need to be learning and focused on protecting their businesses? Because you've been doing it for 20 years. So how do we keep doing it?
I think you paint a kind picture of the situation. Unfortunately, right? There's a lot of misconceptions out there and there's a lot of ignorance. And it's not intentional, right? It's not malicious. If you have an IT director or a product marketing or an engineer, an architect, that's what they're good at. That's what they've been trained at. That's what they're going to focus on. If you give an architect and a developer, hey, we need X, they're going to design a solution that does X, right? They're not thinking, hey, how could someone really smart undermine that, right? They're looking for functionality. And a lot of times business leaders are the same way. Okay, we need X revenue. How do we go get X revenue? Show me all the steps. Everything else is a secondary, tertiary priority at best. And so we don't effort that. Now, the first axiom of cybersecurity, and I came up with this, again, almost 30 years ago, because you're starting 2 years in, right? I was already probably 5 years in and much more frustrated than you were. The first axiom is cybersecurity is not relevant until it fails. So it takes a little bit of pain typically. And whether you're experiencing the pain or somebody close to you is experiencing the pain, or you see something on the news that kind of generates, whoa, I'm glad I'm not that company, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even come to the conversation. So having these webinars and publishing things, and this is why I started publishing blogs and articles and white papers and podcasts and doing keynotes and so forth, is to talk about some of those interesting things, some of the important things. And cybersecurity, as we kind of talked about it before, it's kind of tough to justify. One of the reasons is there aren't really good metrics around it.
Yeah.
Now think about it, right? If you're in a product group and you can show your success. We did this much sales. We measured it. I can show it. It's in our bank accounts. This is our success. But for cybersecurity, success is nothing happens, right? Okay. Hey, nothing happened today. Success. Well, was that because of you or because somebody bad didn't try anything? I don't know. Success. Well, trying to measure that in a way, especially when you get to that C-suite and you're standing in front of the CEO going, I would like some budget too. And sales just showed their success quantifiable. What are you going to show? It's really tough to show what didn't happen, right? It's like in physics. You can't measure cold. You can only measure heat. You can't measure darkness. You can only measure light. And so in cybersecurity, it's really difficult to measure what losses were avoided or minimized. You can only show the losses that did occur. And typically that's not very flattering.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So understanding that's a fundamental challenge that we will always have. It's very difficult to elevate cybersecurity unless the first axiom is invoked, right? And people feel the pain. It's an uphill battle to justify security, right? There are some easier areas like regulations. If you can point to a regulation and go, hey, we have to have this, that's easier.
Yeah.
But that's only going to get you the sufficient amount of resources and time and effort to meet that regulation. And that's not really going to give you the level of security that's going to meet the expectations that we talked about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's about 4 or 5 questions in the chat about employee training. How effective is it effective? Is phishing effective? So employee training programs at Defendify, we think they're like super, 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 super important. But like, where are you at with employee training programs?
They are essential because they are helping the behaviors, strengthen the behaviors, improve the cognitive defenses of the employees and hopefully as well your contractors. And so when I do training for the companies that I'm a CISO of, I actually make our vendors take the training too.
Nice.
So you want to, be our vendor or our supplier? Great. I've got to make sure you're secure, right? Based on the amount of sensitive data or reliance on you, but your people also have to take our training, which is a little unusual, but the people, that wetware is a primary attack vector because it's easy and it works. It costs very little for the attackers to go after the people. So training the people, making them more security savvy is essential. Okay, but there is a problem, right? Not every program is effective. It just isn't. It's like anything else in life. It has to be tuned to the audience. It has to be effective in the messages it's delivering. It can't overwhelm people, right? You can't send them to 2 hours of training every day, right? It just doesn't work. Right. So there has to be a good balance and it has to be crafted well. I've seen some companies invest a lot of money in developing their own internal systems to go train, and yet they weren't experts in cybersecurity. And so they trained what they thought was right in a way they kind of thought would stick. And often cases, the people resented it. They didn't even listen to it. They would click on a video and walk away, right? And it was very ineffective.
How do you pass the test? There's a test at the end.
Sometimes there are and sometimes there's not, right? And even the goals. So for example, one of my employers in the past, when we started phishing campaigns to measure phishing, right? And it was miserable. Yeah, it was horrible, right? It was like some divisions, it was like 60% of the people would click on this. And this was early on. 60% would fall for a phishing attack. That's horrific. And so the company, right, management, 60 is bad. Let's just make it 10% goal.
That's still
and
bad.
I'm like, yeah, 10% is still going to destroy the environment. That does not work. And so I advocated to drop it and drop it and drop it. And for the teams that I managed, right, they saw the company kind of word, okay, we want a 10%. And, here's whatever, either penalties or whatnot. For me, I went to my group that I managed and I said, our goal is 2%. And that will barely put a smile on my face. We're going to go south of that very quickly. And I was able, through the training, to get them to well below 2%, to a fraction of a percent. And
you want to name and shame that one person who still clicked? No.
No, actually, I don't.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
I don't. That's the other error that we make. We penalize people for making a mistake. And yet we all make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
If you are perceived as that cop that's going to beat somebody over the head with a nightstick when you jaywalk, nobody's going to want to engage you. Yeah. Nobody's going to want to work with you.
True.
And so it's the script really needs to be flipped. So, while at Intel, I owned all cybersecurity for all mergers, acquisitions, divestitures, so on and so forth. And when we bought a company, whether it was a couple of hundred people or 5,000, 10,000 people, I would go out and I would do the security training. And it was customized for M&A and customized for that particular company. And sometimes for whatever region I was talking to at the time within that company. And, it was important to let them know that everybody makes mistakes. We're going to train you. And what you're going to learn is not only going to help you, it's going to help protect your coworker, right? And it's going to help protect them so it protects your work and your division and your company and our shareholders and everybody else. But the lessons you're going to learn, you're also going to take home. These are going to help you in protecting your bank account, your children, right? And they're like, oh, okay. And I said, the other thing is, I have written policies, security policies for the company. If they don't work with what you have to get done, because, hey, we're a business. You got to get certain stuff done, right? We're here to make money or grow market or whatever. If it doesn't work, if it's a problem, call me. Let's talk about it. There may be another way for me to manage the risk, right? But I don't want you to just go around it. I don't want you to turn security off just for a minute, right? And go do that work. Work with me. If I have to, I'll change a policy, but I will work with you and find a way. And lastly, if you're one of 100% of people here that ends up making a mistake, you click on something, you go, I don't know if that was good or not. Call me. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm going to be thankful and appreciative of you. All right. I want that call because I also run the incident command, right? I'm the incident commander. So I realize the value of early detection. I would rather get 50 calls and have all of them turn out to be nothing than miss that one call of something that was important, that needed to be investigated and contained. So I said, you will never, ever hear me, right? Degrade you or punish you. No, I'll put you on a pedestal. I'll give you a gift card. I'll take you out to coffee, right? I want to hear, even if it's nothing, right? I don't want you to see the phone call from me and go, oh no, it's security people. I don't want to answer that. No, I want you to pick up that phone. Hey, what's going on, Matthew? Hey, we got this. I may need your help, right? And so that kind of rapport and relationship between everybody in the company about cybersecurity builds a culture. A culture of everybody's looking out for each other. And if somebody does something wrong, it's not going to be security. It's going to be one of the team members going, don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that. Go fix that. Right. And that really elevates the defense posture of everyone.
Yeah.
That's so many good points in there. And you're right. It's about building that culture, and you start looking at the attack surface, like how many incidents start with some sort of social engineering or a phishing email. It's astronomical. And building that culture, everyone's, you have all these additional eyes and ears watching your network and, fostering that relationship with the employees that, like, if your computer's running slow, if you think you clicked on something, something seems suspicious, reach out to your IT team. You're better safe than sorry. And I think, like you said, everyone's looking out for each other. If you get a suspicious email, like getting up in your cubicle and being like, hey, I just got this weird email, did you guys get that too? And like letting people know goes a long way. And I definitely find, for organizations just starting out with training, it can be challenging to get engagement. It's something new. We hear the word training and we're like, maybe we envision those like antiquated HR videos we have to watch every year. But if you get the right content, and here at Defendify, that, really proud of what we do, with the phishing simulations and the awareness videos, people become engaged. They're micro learning courses. They're learning about new things that, are in the threat landscape. And I loved what you said about, they can start applying these things to their personal lives as well. Working with customers and organizations, I've heard time and time again, like, that video was great. I'd never thought about that, but I'm going to go home and I'm going to tell my spouse or my kids, they have their iPhones and, so it kind of has that additional stickiness to it. And then you start getting, everyone involved, like you said, and, you're as strong as your weakest link. All it takes is one employee doing the wrong thing and not knowing that they should let someone know. We're all human. Like you said, you're going to mess up. Even the most seasoned cybersecurity expert could make a mistake at any point.
Absolutely right.
So,
it happens.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, then we are using a new platform. There is a poll. We do usually open up if you're interested in seeing how Defendify can help to improve your security posture, please let us know. We usually launch that poll, have some help on the back end because I can't figure out how to shoot it out to all of you. But if you are interested, it looks like it's launching. It might take 10 seconds. Thank you, Jim, in the background, our CMO who does the back end of that. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Matthew, is there anything else you'd give? It sounds like we answered a lot of folks' questions about polls and culture and HIPAA and trying to make sure that we're navigating the cybersecurity culture and making sure people are cybersecurity resilient. Any last words as we've taken a big chunk of your time today, and anything that we didn't ask that you really wanted to get out to our Defendify community?
Well, especially in the small and medium businesses, I would say don't be discouraged. Don't put your head in the sand. There is a right amount of security for your organization, no matter where you're at, whether you're a startup or whether you're pushing the 1,000 employee milestone. But just don't be afraid. And if nothing else, go talk with somebody, a professional in cybersecurity that can give you a little bit of insights. Right. And it may just be picking up the phone. It may be texting. It may be bringing somebody in, whatever it is. But don't be fearful of it. Right. This is part of business now in our digital age. And if you're not protecting your digital assets, you are putting at risk your customers, your suppliers, your business partners, your reputation, your business. So don't be fearful of it. Right. The bad guys want you to be fearful of it. It is their advantage. It's not yours. So approach it as any other business challenge that you have to deal with, just like payroll or advertising or product development, right? Cybersecurity is part of business today.
For sure.
So, reach out. There are resources, there are tools that are available and quality and can help you. There's not a silver magic bullet that will solve everything. It is a slow progression in many cases, but start strong and go for those basics at first.
Well, I will be so grateful to continue learning from you while I still follow your content after this webinar. And I've learned so much from you today. Our community is blowing up with chat and questions and comments. So thank you tremendously for giving the Defendify community your time. I do hope you get a few days of rest because you have been extroverting now for like 7 days straight. And I just need you to take some time, build that energy back privately if that's how you do it. But you've been totally killing it out there and producing a ton of content. So thank you for all that you do for our community.
It's teamwork.
Yes,
everybody has a role. Absolutely.
Well, wonderful. Glenn, thank you for joining us. And for those of you in the
Yeah.
Defendify community, we will send this as a recording, usually within 24 to 48 hours. And you will have the opportunity to find Matthew Rosenquist. We will link his information in our emails to all of you. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you at the next webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.